It's because of Erica. I can't help but be suspicious when people are examining corpses. So, you think that one of the first 6 victims was alive? Yeah. And afterwards they killed Kraus and Natsui. Then, they locked the door from the inside, hid the room, and found a good chance to escape. That theory does make logical sense. I'll say it in red. The culprit of the first Twilight really did kill 6 people. Is there a corpse missing? Then I'll take a shot with the blue truth. Didn't we say we weren't going to use red or blue? Also, why is there purple? Here is the true nature of this closed room. The culprit locked the door from the inside, then hid in Natsui's room. Then, after everyone left, they found an opportunity to escape. Sure, I'll deny that in red. The group sealed the room at the time they left. No culprit joined the group as they left. Also, all the seals in Natsui's room, the dining hall, and the mansion itself will not be broken. Huh? In other words, you can't use that trick where they hide under the bed or slip out later. Interesting. Nice going, Burn Castell. Thanks. This was the crime of the second Twilight. The scene was Natsui's room, a locked, closed room. This time, all the servants with master keys have alibis. The whole group, realizing the dangers of being inside the mansion, took shelter in the guest house. The fourth Twilight. All those who took refuge in the guest house decided to hole up in there until the typhoon passed. There, if everyone watched everyone else, they should be able to prevent further crimes both from inside and outside. However, they wouldn't be able to keep it up without any breaks until the typhoon passed. Once again, their actions left a weak point open, and they were faced with yet another tragedy. Shannon-chan and Cannon-kun went outside on an errand and still haven't come back. George Nissan got upset, and so we all went outside to look for them. We found Shannon-chan lying there in the rose garden. Oh, poor Shannon-chan. I prayed she was still alive. However, I was forced to acknowledge that she was dead. Of course, I also examined her and confirmed her death. When the two of them left, we were busy checking the locks around the guest house, so not one of us has an alibi. Me? Kill her? How could I have killed her? That's right, George Oni-chan couldn't kill her, ooh. Later on, we learned that George Nissan alone had an alibi. At the very least, George Nissan couldn't have possibly have killed Shannon. To turn it around, anyone other than George Nikki could have killed her. To prevent the culprit from using it for any mischief, we destroyed the master key Shannon-san had on the spot. How are you destroying keys? At the time Shannon is killed, Cannon goes missing forever. From now on, Cannon is treated as being killed. Also, Cannon's master key is treated as being destroyed. Well, I thought it'd be rude, so I kept quiet about it, but that's what happens when Shannon dies. In other words, we can interpret this as Shannon and Cannon being killed at the same time, even though we're missing a corpse. That's right. Looks like the crimes are moving along. So even though there's no way for the people there to actually know this, we're just sort of making it easier for us. Okay, this was the crime of the fourth Twilight. The scene was the rose garden. There were no locks or doors. It would be weird if there was. It wasn't a closed room. So the master keys were no longer a factor. Then the pace of the crimes began to accelerate. The fifth and sixth Twilight. Everyone took shelter in the guest house. They carefully sealed all doors and windows, locking themselves in a closed room. However, several closed room murders had already occurred. Could locking themselves in a closed room do anything more than invite another tragedy? After arguing fiercely in the cousin room about finding the culprit, they decided that they should double-check Nanjo, Kumasawa, and Gota's testimony. And there they learned that a tragedy had occurred once more. In both Gota-san's and Kumasawa-san's cases, such wounds would have resulted in instant deaths. I believe such a gruesome ways to die. Like hell they can survive with wounds like that. Gota-san and Kumasawa-san are both dead. Well, we have we have been busy keeping a lookout and locking up and all that. Once again, none of us has an alibi. That's not true. Look, if they were killed in that way, the culprit would definitely have gotten blood splatter on themselves. But Dr. Nanjo and all of the cousins have no blood splatter on them. All of us, in other words, the 4 cousins and Dr. Nanjo couldn't have killed Goto-san or Kumasawa-san. In that case, it's clear that the culprit is someone other than us. I guess that someone might have snuck in, so I checked around, but the guest house was still completely locked up. Perhaps the culprit has a master key after all. That's impossible. No master keys exist anymore except the 2 keys on the 2 people who lie dead here. Since the 2 master keys that exist are here inside the guest house, that makes this guest house a perfect closed room. Well, since someone's dead, it obviously wasn't perfect. This was the crime of the 5th and 6th Twilights. The scene was the closed room known as the guest house. Goto and Kumasawa-san's master keys were also destroyed, meaning that all master keys have now been lost. So how do we open doors anymore? Now, no one can break into this closed room guest house. At least that should have been the case. The 7th Twilight. This time, Dr. Nanjo was killed. He died in the entrance hall of the guest house. It was far too foolish of him to come here alone to check that everything was locked. He's dead? He's been killed. Even I can say for sure that this was an instant death. Everything is locked up perfectly. How did it happen if this is a closed room? That means the culprit is one of us. Impossible. Judging by the circumstances, Maria, Battler, George Nissan, and I all couldn't have killed Dr. Nanjo. In the first place, no one could kill Dr. Nanjo inside the guest house. And look at this. Simply put, this is proof that Dr. Nanjo didn't leave the guest house. That means no one could kill Dr. Nanjo, right? So how was he killed? No one could answer that innocent question. This was the 7th Twilight. Once again, the crime scene was the closed room known as the guest house. Various bits of evidence made this crime scene even more impossible. Then the tragedy reached the 8th Twilight, the final one. By now, it was clear that holding up wouldn't keep them safe. Jessica might have chosen anger as a way to numb her fear. She flew out of the guest house in a rage, searching for the culprit that surely hid somewhere outside. George, Battler, and Maria hurriedly chased after her.